WNST. Time to come down the chimney, and I have my purple ho-ho hat on here for our Facebook Live and YouTube. And we're waiting for Manny Machado to be dealt on the WNST Tech Service, as brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We got basketball going on the hardwoods, from the NBA to the collegiate ranks, as well as the Washington Capitals taking the show west on the road. Ed Frankovic staying up late all week long here and wishing he were out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. But Dallas was the scene on Tuesday night, and the Caps, really sort of evenly balanced, decent road game, and then in the end, pulled it out in OT. Really nice win for the Caps on Tuesday night down there in the Dirty D.
Yeah, you know me, I always love Rock Vegas, man. I could always go out there and have a good time, and the Caps will be there on Saturday night.
Did you make it to a game? Weren't you out there recently?
When I was out there Columbus Day weekend. The season had just started, and the Golden Knights were on the road. So I watched the games, but I did not. They weren't playing at home till after I left.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to plan a trip to Vegas without them being at home. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be part of whatever I do, just because, I was supposed to go to that arena to see the Stones last year, and Mick got sick. And, what can you say about 3 days in Vegas where you're there to see the Stones and Mick gets sick?
Oh, yeah, that's
it's not meant to be, dude. It's not meant to be. Maybe the next trip will be the Las Vegas Raiders or something like that. But for here and now, the Caps are playing great hockey and, probably going west at a nice time, and they'll get to sleep in their own beds for Christmas, and there's a little downtime coming up here and a roster freeze going on in the league. But they're playing as well as I would think you want them to play at Christmas, right?
Yeah, they've won 11 of 13, Ness, and they're just doing different things every night to win games. And last week, when you and I had our weekly Caps sync-up, we talked about Andre Burakovsky and the need to get him going. And, boy, he was the story on Tuesday night. What a game he had. I actually wrote a blog last week where I thought maybe he might need to sit a game, but I reconsidered, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what, this guy sat 20 games. And when I wrote my blog on Sunday, my 10 thoughts on the Caps after they had beaten Anaheim, a nice rally on Saturday, I wrote, the guy who really needs to come out is Smith Pelly, not because he's playing poorly, but they got to keep Burakovsky in there and see if he can get that chemistry going with Eller and Connolly like they had last year when the team took off. And unfortunately, Smith Pelly doesn't kill penalties as well as Alex Chason, and Alex Chason had a big week last week, so Smith Pelly came out. But it's a nice problem for Trotz to have right now. He's got guys going. And Burakovsky delivered on Tuesday. What a game he had. He was really skating. He always seems to play well there, and that's an arena the Capitals have really struggled in. And they haven't won in regulation there since 1995, but they've won the last 2 years in thrillers in overtime. And on Tuesday night, it looked like they were going to lose when they gave up that goal with 4 minutes to go, but boy, what a shift by Burakovsky right afterwards to win the board battle, find Connolly, who's red hot, now up to 7 goals, with just a laser in the corner to tie it up. And then for the Caps to win that one in overtime, they got a big save from Holtby, and Holtby was great again with 33 saves, and they come out of there with a win in a place that really has been a house of horrors for them for years. And they overcame some big things last night to a poor second period again to really get a huge win, and they're in first again in the Metro.
Well, and here they come. And we talk about good teams ever, right? Like, I'm writing all this history of Baltimore football and the ghost of Baltimore's football's past, present, and future this week out at WNST.net. If I get a really tall glass of water, I'm going to read it as a book on tape to be played here this weekend through the holiday, because I think it's, you sort of ponder all your years. I turn 50 next year, and I know you've suffered that indignity as well. And, you start to think about all the good teams there have ever been and the good moments with sports and stuff. And no matter what sport it's been, no matter what championship or even a great run any team has ever been on. And I remember talking to you about this last year as well. You know the Oriole Magic song, right? Something magic happens every time you go. Every night there's a different star, right? That's the magic of Orioles baseball, right?
We grew up with that.
When teams are going well, whatever the team is, right? Yeah, there's somebody playing well. There's a Ray Lewis in the middle, or there's an Eddie Murray, or there's a Cal Ripken, or there's an Ovechkin, or there's a Derek Jeter. Pick it, Michael Jordan, whatever. But they don't win the game every night, right? And there's that Tuesday night in Dallas where you need Burakovsky to be the star. Not every night, and maybe you need him in Game 5 in Toronto in May in the second round, right? Or whatever that's going to be. But you have to have that John Druce, to use a little hockey, nostalgia there for you, right? I mean, there needs to be that step-up moment, that someone that is not the franchise player to do something otherworldly and, as they say, make a play, make a memory, whatever. And on these sleepy Tuesday nights when you've won 11 of 13, it can't always be Holtby standing on his head, although it will be some nights. And it can't be Ovechkin looking for his fourth goal in the second period, because it will be some nights. But you can't have Burakovsky disappear. And dude, I mean, over the balance of this guy's career, he's no Brashad Perryman, right? I mean, he's not a non-contributor, but he's a guy you're waiting to wake up, and you wonder if in the end he's going to be just a guy instead of what he flashes to be, which is a poor man's Ovechkin or a poor man's, name the scorer of your choice. But I think everyone believes the guy's a 35, 40 goal scorer on a great day, on a good team, on a good line, when everything's going well. We've just been waiting for that time, and we've seen him. He's sort of streaky, right?
He's very, very streaky, Ness, and he had a really good playoffs against the Penguins. You know, he really was the guy that stepped up in games 5 and 6. When they got that series knotted, and then the whole team had the dud in Game 7. But you make a good point. They can't rely on Holtby and Ovechkin and Backstrom every night, and they've been getting stellar goaltending. I mean, the reason this team is where they are right now, and they're 10 games over 500, winning this 11 to 13. The main reason is Holtby, but other guys are stepping up. We've seen Tom Wilson do it. We've seen Jacob Verana. Jacob Verana has really amped up his game. He didn't have his best game Tuesday in Dallas, but those guys chipping in here and there, and then you have Ovechkin doing what he's doing. I mean, Ovechkin's on pace for a 55-goal season, which that's unheard of at age 32. They're getting a lot of different performances right now, and they've brought a lot of rookies in the lineup. You got Christian Hughes and Madison Bowie on the back end. Verana's still a rookie. Chandler Stevenson's a rookie. He's had some big games. Trotz and company, and Brian McClellan, they got to be really happy. I mean, they seem to have made the right moves in the offseason. They weren't going to keep everybody, and they had a plan. Despite all the abuse they took, they had a plan with what they were going to do going forward, and so far it's working.
He is Ed Frankovic. He is our Caps historian, blogger, insider, red line, blue line, internet line, wherever it is, and the Caps now moving westward. This point in the season, I feel the bounce in your step. I hear it in your voice. I think you even hear it with Beninati and Lachlan when they are calling good hockey games, and we're watching a good hockey team again. And I think we all wondered in the offseason. I think, early on, and I think you hit the red light at one point on Trotz, and he might be in trouble, and this thing could be going the wrong way. And I think we all realize they have less talent this year. They need guys to step up. They need that every night's a different star kind of guy if they're going to approach a President's Trophy sort of world, right? That they've been living in, that sort of rarefied air. I think maybe we thought they were going to slap around the way the Ravens have this year and be that 8-6 team and that 5 or 6 or 7 seed that's going to have to play into the first week of April and really mean it and really run hard to the finish line. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, they've bought themselves a lot of oxygen, right? I mean, in February and March, the last couple of years. And I don't know whether it's done them any good or not, or what that's meant for Ovechkin's health or for their sharpness. Clearly they've lost to a better team in Game 7s. I mean, it's been just like a Ali Frazier, except, they've never been able to get it done. But that being said, I don't know that there's any complaint you could have about where they are right now and whatever the hope is that they're going to play really well in April and May and June. That's what they're going to have to do, and how they're playing in December to the point of the Kansas City Chiefs in September or the Philadelphia Eagles in November before they lost their quarterback, or maybe how the Steelers looked 2 weeks ago or how the Patriots looked this week, or all that flavor of the month. The Capitals, the only thing they need to worry about for their fan base is being the flavor of May and June, because they're always the flavor of December. But it is very heartening to know they can be good, and they can be good like this, especially on the road, through a tougher point in their schedule, through some weird matchups, fisticuffs on Tom Wilson, not taking any gump in Dallas on a Tuesday night. I mean, they got a lot of different elements going on with the team, and they still are blessed with maybe not the depth they've had in the past, but they have some special hockey players on this team, Ed.
Yeah, they really have to rely on their stars, much like the Penguins have done the last couple of years, and they've ridden that to a Stanley Cup title. And the Capitals knew they were going to have to rely on their stars, but they didn't have a whole lot of injuries the last 2 years, and a lot of that had to do with the depth, right? When you have more guys don't play as much. They don't open themselves up into getting hurt, and they also, let's be honest, the biggest thing that hurt the Capitals last spring was Ovechkin got hurt by the Nazem Kadri hit, and I'm convinced, had he been in the condition he is now, and you watch Ovechkin skate, he's skating better than he has in several years.
Well, he's lighter, right? I mean, he's clearly lighter, right? I mean, really.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. If he's in that kind of condition, he doesn't get hurt. Beat the Penguins, but I think maybe he got the message and have the last couple of years because the league is so balanced. But you take a look at the standings, Ness, they're like only a couple points, 3 points maybe, or 5 points, or I think it's maybe 4 points behind Tampa, who lost a heartbreaker with 2 seconds left in Vegas on Tuesday night. So this thing's close. They're in the conversation again. I don't know that they're going to do that. I don't know if they want that. But and to be realistic, I just think the division's too tough. I don't think the President's Trophy's coming out of the Metro this year because top to bottom, this division is loaded.
I don't care where they go, who they play, what matchup they have, what seed they are, quite frankly. I just really would like to see them, by the time March Madness starts, let's say before St. Patrick's Day, to be coasting to the finish line, not coasting to the number one overall, just being 12 points ahead for a playoff position with a month left to go, where they can afford to lose some games, they can afford to skate a little freer, they can afford to give some little downtime and less minutes and try out different pieces, all of that. You just don't want to see them in that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mix, 5 points apart on March 17th. That's not where you want them to be. And stacking up these kinds of wins, they've won 4 in a row. They've lost one game this month, dude. They've lost one game since Thanksgiving. They're really good right now, and I think that's heartening to see across the wide spectrum of East-West home-road games. They've played really well for a month.
Yeah, and December has been Trotz's month, and they've ridden these Decembers into putting themselves in good positions down the stretch. The first year Trotz was here, when we did the radio show with them, they were 500 that night, and that was early December, and they kind of took off from there. They went in, they won the Winter Classic, and ever since then, Trotz is, the Cavs have the best record in December, and they're doing it again. They're 8-1 this month, and Trotz was under a lot of heat. There was concerns given what happened in the playoffs, and he had great teams, and he came close. And I still say the Stanley Cup Finals were in the second round the last 2 years. So I got to give him and his staff a lot of credit because they had a lot of new pieces to put in, and they've assimilated that, and they've gotten better as a team. And the scary thing, Ness, and I blogged about this at WNST.net, is this team could still get better. They've had terrible second periods lately, and they're really struggling with that long change in period 2 where the defensemen when they change, they got to go a lot further. They're getting themselves hemmed in with some turnovers that they're still working out. Boy, this team still has a lot of room to grow. They are not close to peaking yet, and we're 10 games over 500. You got to feel really happy about where they're at. There's still a lot of hockey to play. You got to stay healthy. And to your point about March, I would like to see them be able to ramp Braden Holtby down a little bit in March and April so that he can really get back to the peak of his game in April and May. Braden has not peaked in the spring the last couple of years. He had knee injury, and then he just struggled a little in the Toronto series last year. If we can get 2012 Braden Holtby when they were a game away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to the Rangers in that 7-game series when the Caps really had no business being in it, if we can get that Braden Holtby in the playoffs, boy, this could be big. Goaltending is so important. They need to have Holtby ready for the playoffs.
You bring up a dark bus ride home from Manhattan that night of Game 7. One of the most amazing sporting events. You know, you get to be old like me. You don't think you're going to see a great sporting event. Ed, I want to bring this up with you, and I just want to say Caps in Arizona Friday night, late night, 9 o'clock. Vegas on Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern start, kind of an early start out there on the Strip. And I thought about it, Ed. I thought about it. I swear to God, I thought about it. But look, the Indianapolis Colts are coming here this weekend. I just want to give you a chance to say your piece on the ghost of Baltimore football, past, present, and future. I've known you for 33 years now. Our friendship through hockey, through Baltimore sports, and the Orioles and the Ravens. You've always been a strong proponent of all things Baltimore sports. It's our relationship as well. I used to see the back of your jersey down below me in section 113. I don't anymore. You're one of those guys that doesn't go every week.
Yeah, and then that really, that decision came about because of kids, right, Ness? That came back in 2007, so that was different times. And I think, what we're seeing, I read your first blog. Everybody's got to read that. It was very well done. I agree with a lot of the points you made. I think they've done
you'll disagree with part 2. Don't worry. The disagreeing part's coming, so don't worry.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors, right?
Oh, yeah. There's plenty to write about.
Let's start with, it's a great experience at home, right? And money's a factor, right? The prices. When I started going to those games, it was $35 for my seats, and it's up over $100 a game now for those seats. So, not everybody can afford it, but the view at home, you get the replays, the red zone's been invented. There's just, for me, kids sports, I can't get to the games. There's sometimes I can't even watch them because I'm in a hockey rink somewhere in Northern Virginia.
How many kids do you have, Ed? Tell everybody about your life.
I have 3 kids. And I spend 6 to 7 days at the Gardens Ice House in Laurel between travel hockey, rec hockey, my daughter's synchro ice skating team. There's just it's a lot. There's a lot going on.
How old are your kids, Ed? Tell everybody how old your kids are.
Isabel's 11. Christian's going to be 8 next month, and Matthew is 6. So
that's a handful for you, for your wife, for anyone, for grandparents, for taxi duty and Uber duty to get them to the rink and to school and feed them and bathe them and clothe them and love them and yeah, man. I mean, it's complicated out there, right? In so many ways for the Ravens, and they've been so beloved for 22 years. This is a very, very weird spot where if I called you right now and said, Ed, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to go to the game with me Saturday at 4? You would say what?
I would say I can't go. With Christmas coming up this weekend, it's just so difficult. To dump 3 kids on my wife. Having said that, Saturday might be better because I don't have hockey games.
Hey, man, throw me a text, bro. I got room for you at 5:13.
Yeah, and I've sat up there with you.
Come on out. Come on, make room for you.
It's beautiful.
Come on up. You can come sit with me. Plenty of good seats available for the for this class. And no one hates the Colts more than you, as far as I remember it.
Oh man, I loved the Colts growing up. That was my grandfather made me that Johnny Unitas helmet when I was a kid, and my dad, of course, I grew up in Laurel, and everyone's like, how come you're a Colts fan and all your friends are Redskin fans? Well, my dad had season tickets to the Colts. We used to go to the Colts games. We sat up there in the end zone, 33rd Street. I was in the stands when Joe Namath had that unbelievable game. I was 7 years old. I still remember it. It seemed like everything he threw was a touchdown that day, and I was a freshman at Maryland when the Colts left, and I remember I was covering Maryland football, and I said to Boomer Esiason, if the Colts draft you, will you play in Baltimore? Because we had the whole Elway thing, and Boomer's like, absolutely, I'd play in Baltimore. And, so it was just crushing times. And I remember what it was like to not have a team. And reading your article, really brought a lot of that home. We have to remember, we didn't, what's it going to be like without a team? I mean, I know some people are upset with the team, and, there's been the Ray Rice situation, and there's a lot of off-field issues with the Ravens and the NFL. I mean, you can't go a week without reading about somebody getting in trouble, and then there's just a lot of factors out there, and the cost, and the ability to stay at home, the replay on TV, and the Ravens are trying to do a good job with the fan experience there, and it's just hard. They're competing with tough things, and let me point this out to you, Ness. The Capitals are on an amazing sellout streak right now. I mean, it's an amazing sellout streak, but there's a lot of empty seats, especially the first half of the year. There's a lot of games, and a lot of people buy those tickets for the second half of the year after football's over, and and the ability to have those tickets in the playoffs when it becomes the hot ticket. So I think this is and more than just an NFL problem. I think this is a lot of leagues going to the games. It's so much easier with the big screen TVs and everything at home.
And it's become a real decision financially every time. There are no, unless, somebody's giving you a couple tickets from work or whatever, you got a bunkie that's stuck into them or whatever. But, the decision to say, I'm going to drop $250 this Sunday to go to the game, or drop $80 on my wife and take her to dinner Saturday and pick up some steaks and throw them on the grill and put it on in a man cave and turn the sound up and listen to some Zeppelin right up to game time, or play my fantasy, or check my tablet, or mow my lawn. I mean, all of the above. I mean, we could sit here and list 10,000 options you have other than going to the game at this point. It's got to be important to you. And, at this point in my life, it's still important to me because of what it represents in my life. And, but I'm not everyone else. But I am a season ticket holder, and I am a guy who buys tickets. So, I'm not that guy in the press box wagging my finger and saying, I don't buy tickets. That's the baseball team. I don't buy tickets for the baseball team. And, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, or write about it, or think about it. And we'll certainly, I'll turn it back to you, right? And we'll talk more about it, because I think as a community, we're going to have to talk more about it, period, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out a way, and Steve Bisciotti needs to come out and maybe have some discussions with the fans. And I know they're trying, they're doing it. I know probably Dick Cass on the case night and day.
When do you see this baseball team? This S show going to happen this summer when nobody's coming to the games there either. So, that's going to happen every night for, that's going to happen 81 times other than the bobblehead giveaways. And when they, trot Cal Ripken or Brooks Robinson or Jim Palmer back out. And, that's going to happen 81 more times before the Ravens play another game after they play at home next weekend against Cincinnati. So, we're going to have a long time, and the scab is still, far from, scabbed over at this point, right?
Yeah, the Orioles are going to be a disaster, especially if they get rid of Machado. I mean, I still watch them and stuff, but to just get rid of a player of his stature just shows you just don't want to win. I mean, we've been saying it for years, and, the people drinking the Kool-Aid over there continue to say, well, they're doing some right things. They still haven't developed a number one pitcher since Mike Mussina, and he was developed before this guy took over the team, before Angelos took over the team. So, my feelings about the Orioles and the ownership are very much aligned with yours. But I think the football team is different. I think Steve has hopefully some goodwill and some he has some plans on how he can maybe turn this around. But I really think there's a lot of external factors out of their control that are keeping people from being in the stands. The key is going to be what's going to happen with the renewals, right? If they continue to get the renewals, the people are still financially invested in the team, and we're seeing that with the Capitals. The Capitals fans are certainly still buying the tickets. I mean, the price is still there, and you can go to a game dirt cheap because the secondary market is there, and people are willing to trade that for the ability to have those tickets when the games are on the line. It's a different story in the NFL because you only got 8 of them, right? And you only get a home game if you win a division.
And that's what makes it so ugly when there's 30,000 empty seats and the team's 8-6, and the tickets are $20 on the internet and nobody wants to go. So this is a good time to bring it up, and all the whys and the knee, which it keeps coming back to the knee on my Facebook page. So I don't know that I speak globally, but that's what I'm hearing, as the president would say. Hey Ed, I got to run, man. I always appreciate your time and space and a place out there at Ed Frankovic on Twitter, and we'll be watching on the Caps games. Hey, if I don't see you or chat, and I'm sure I'll see pictures of what Santa's brought the kids under the tree on your Facebook, have a great holiday, man. It's always good to have you on.
Hey, my pleasure, Nat. Same to you and Jen. And, just really quick on the knee, I mean, I don't think you can say that's the reason, okay? But you can say, it's kind of like, you're having a rough relationship with somebody and something happens that kind of pushes you over the edge. Maybe that's the case for some people.
I have written that Ray Rice, once the Ray Rice thing happened, that was the first sort of fracture, right? That was the crack in the glass that you're like, is it going to get fixed or is the crack going to get bigger? You know what I mean? Like literally. And the crack has gotten bigger, clearly. I mean, the empty seats and the lack of a home field advantage, the lack of Jacoby, whatever his name is, on Saturday is going to be able to come in and operate an offense in our building. And that never happened happened for 20 years. Like, just never, ever happened. Certainly not in the first quarter. Certainly not when we had a 7-point lead and you had to, you had 3rd and 8. You couldn't hear yourself breathe or think in the huddle in our stadium. That's gone, man. That's gone. I don't know. And it's much like the roar from 34 and that sound that Memorial Stadium made. That's gone for baseball in Baltimore. That's gone. That's gone.
Yeah.
Maybe for Delman Young, you heard it one time, literally one time, Delman Young. But other than that, that sound is gone from Baltimore baseball. It would be a shame if that sound was gone from Baltimore football. That's all.
Yeah, totally. Because 3rd down there, I would be in there screaming my head off too. I loved it. That stadium would rock. And
for a guy like you and me, not to wax too poetic, but listen real close. Put your ear up to the phone, Ed, okay? C-O-L-T-S, Colts, right? Right?
Yeah.
The wheel, right? Right? You can hear the echoes of 33rd Street, and it was the world's largest outdoor insane asylum. I wasn't there in 1962 and 66 and all that, but my dad was, and from what I hear, no one could get into a huddle on 33rd Street and hear themselves think either, right, back in the day. And that was sort of a Baltimore football tradition that when you go to the game right now, the Ray Lewis dance and, and winning and a good offense and all of that stuff that you want on the field, but the sound of the stadium is different with 20,000 empty seats, and that's very, very apparent.
It's very sad. Hopefully, they can, they make the playoffs will be a step in the right direction, but they're like we said, there's so many other factors, so many things they're competing with now. And I think the Ray Rice thing. I think you're spot on that. I think that was a turning point, Ness, no doubt about it. And I look forward to reading these next couple parts.
All right, part 2, part 3 coming your way. Ed will be tweeting away all weekend long. Arizona, Vegas, and then New York. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm in the buyatoyota.com audio vault all through the holidays, as well as the Ghost of Baltimore football past, present, and future online for you. Don't forget, Planet Fitness sponsors our WNST morning newspaper that delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning, free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. Still $10 a month, never any commitment, and I am drinking eggnog literally as we speak. I don't have any cookies available, but if I did, I would eat them. If Manny Machado is dealt, I swear they're going to deal him not. If they do deal him, it will come first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis is here Thursday, and again on Sunday. It is the Sunday Sports Voice, now heard on Thursdays from 3 until 5 with Dennis Colazzos. All right, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live, and anywhere the internet travels, over the river and through the woods for the holidays, on YouTube and our WNS TV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.